12 counts of felony charges. Was this a difficult decision?
Well, difficult, let's say deliberate more than difficult. I mean, all of our cases are hard to do. We make difficult decisions all the time. So no more than anything else, I think, because when you let the facts and evidence guide you, that's our measuring stick for everything. And once you do that and you don't let outside influences affect you, that's what you do.
Now, is this the biggest case that you've handled?
It's too early to tell. I mean, I think, like I said before, time will tell. I think if this is the quote-unquote biggest case, I'm not sure what that really means. Does it mean exposure?
I mean, given the high profile and the media anticipation.
I've done other cases that were extremely high profile. I think the Nevis Budson was probably the highest profile case, but there have been others. I mean, there was Tony Cato Riggs and some others. So I think time will have to make the mark on that.
The mayor's lawyer, Mr. Webb, today in a press conference said that basically, I mean, he was called, or his co-counsel was called a few minutes, and prior to the announcement, he said from his understanding, perhaps the usual thing to do is that the lawyers, the defense lawyers, are normally allowed to state their case, but he said in this case, that was not the case.
Maybe that's how they do things in Chicago, but it's not done here. I mean, I understand that that's how they sometimes do things in the federal system, and I think that what he's talking about is he wanted to meet with us, or meet with me personally prior to our investigation being concluded, and I just think that I thought and still think that's the wrong thing to do. I've never done it for any other defendant. Since I've been here in 2004. I'm not going to start now. I think when you do an investigation, you have to be impartial and fair. And frankly, I don't need the intercession of the defendant's lawyer when we're trying to make our decision. I just think this is the fairest way to proceed as possible. If you do it the other way, I think it just looks bad. I don't think it's right. And I think it has a taint of not being fair as well.
He raised an issue, and I want you to respond to that. He said basically these charges are emanating from a civil case, and he indicated that not once has your office ever prosecuted or prosecuted any perjury charge emanating from a civil case.
Well, we
have criminal.
Well, we prosecute for what we know about, and we don't necessarily monitor every civil case. But the more important question is this: is it okay to then perjure yourself in a civil case? Is that what he's saying? That it's okay to perjure yourself in a civil case, but not a criminal case? So I'm not sure what that means. What you have to really look at is the intent of the perjury statute. It does not delineate in any way in the type of proceeding it is. It's perjury when you raise your hand, when you swear to a notary public and you're misrepresenting yourself. That's perjury, and that's not even a quote-unquote trial in and of itself. And that's a civil, would be classified more as a civil kind of proceeding. So I don't understand that at all. It doesn't matter, and the statute does not delineate what kind of proceeding it is. As long as you have to raise your hand and swear out an oath, then it's perjury if the truth is not told.
So when he says it's selective prosecution, that is not the case with the Office of the Wayne County Prosecutor?
Not at all. And there's 8.4 million reasons as to why we charged in this case. And I think I laid everything out quite clearly. Number one, this was not a case just about sex. Absolutely not. There was so much more than that. People's lives were ruined. We should ignore that they were financially destroyed, personally destroyed. Their careers were ruined. They were very, very much victims, and so I don't think we can ignore that as well. Public dollars were spent unlawfully, we are charging, and the public trust was compromised, and those are very, very good reasons why charges should be sought. This is not selective at all. I don't think they'll be successful in that charge at all.
So you are confident that this office will be able to prosecute and win on all the charges?
I'm confident that we charged what we felt we could prove beyond a reasonable doubt, yes.
Let me ask you this other issue, because it's been an ongoing issue, and in fact it's part of a hallmark of your rise to the Office of the Prosecutor, and that's the Recorder's Court issue in Wayne County Circuit Court System. I interviewed Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick and asked him if he has faith in the justice system to adjudicate the issues that he's about to deal with, and he said the system has problems, and you acknowledge in the press conference that there are some imperfections in the system, but
because people are valuable.
Right, it's the best system we have. Now, I think one of the issues that this case is thrusting to the top is the question of jury of one's peers. When Recorder's Court was removed, of course, what it led to, a lot of people believe it was because of the Malice Green case. that you prosecuted. That,
and I would agree with that.
Right,
Yeah.
and so now, can the mayor get a jury of his peers?
I think he can. I think, you see, I think ultimately I think people are very, very fair people, and it's up to us in the justice system to pick juries that we think can be fair. And I think that is something that can be done. He has very competent lawyers, obviously, and we have very competent lawyers, obviously, and we have challenges that we can use, and they have challenges that they can use, and certainly it's up to us to pick that fair and impartial jury.
So you think he can get a jury of his peers?
I do.
Now, what about the circuit court system in terms of...
And I think we can get it within Wayne County.
You can get it within Wayne County.
Mm-hmm.
So what was at the back of your mind when this case came up and people said, well, it's the prosecutor who was to deal with this?
You know, I didn't really have to think about it that much. Why? Because it happened in my jurisdiction in Wayne County. There wasn't a reason why I shouldn't look at it if it happened in my jurisdiction. And there was no conflict of interest and no legal reason why I shouldn't keep it and investigate within my jurisdiction. And I really think that it's very, very important when we accept these roles and we choose to run for offices and we are elected to these offices that we really ought to be up to what we're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean if a case is conceived as being a hot potato, mm-hmm. and that we duck those and we do the ones that are supposed to be quote unquote not hot potatoes, mm-hmm. that's irresponsible and I think that's cowardly. So as long as there's no reason legally why we shouldn't keep it, then I think that we should.
There's been a lot of talk in the grapevine in terms of the political ramifications, because mm-hmm. both of you are elected officials, mm-hmm. and people say, well, if the justice system, if the legal system cannot deal with him, well, voters will have to decide. And they say likewise with the prosecutor also. I mean, given the fact that there is an election period for you, is there any ramification that you feel coming out of this?
You know, I cannot worry about that, and I have not worried about that, and I will not worry about that. One has nothing to do with the other. I will not at any time allow any kind of personal gain for myself, i.e. whether people are going to vote for me or not, affect how I'm going to handle a case. That's irresponsible. To me, that's unethical, and it's just not the right thing to do. And if I am not strong enough or bold enough or brave enough, I guess is the word I'm looking for, to do that, then I shouldn't be in this position. Any public official has to make tough decisions, and like I said, we do it here every day, whether we're going to charge homicide, whether we're going to charge child abuse, and we have people's lives that are ruined every day. But one has nothing to do with the other, and you've got to keep them separate. I am not going to allow, and did not allow in this case, any kind of political influence or pressure, and I don't really feel that I got any anyway. But I would never allow anything like that to affect a decision in a case. You can't do that. Not when it comes to whether you're going to charge somebody with a crime or crimes or not.
You know the overwhelming opinion that as black people we have about the criminal justice system in terms of when you look at the disproportionate prosecution. And it's a lot of people say, well, I mean, how do you feel? How does an African-American prosecutor feel? Is it a comfortable place to be in to press charges against Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, but not only against the Mayor Kwame, but against the Mayor of the city of Detroit, because looking at Detroit being perhaps the mecca for black Americans? Well,
here's the thing. In this case, that wasn't an issue for me. The 3 victims whose lives were ruined, the 3 police officers that were simply doing their jobs, our investigation showed all African-American. I'm African-American. A lot of the witnesses we talked to are African-American. An overwhelming number of the witnesses, if not most of them, are African-American. Just about everybody involved in this case are African-American. So I don't see that as an issue in this case. Yes, the mayor is African-American, and yes, the defendant, but so is everybody else. So for me, that wasn't an issue. And I understand what you're asking me. I understand where you're asking me about the mistrust of the judicial system, which is why, and I think you may understand this better than most, I think that the most significant case, if we're going to measure it today, that I've ever done was Nevis and Buster, because I really think the people seeing that gavel to gavel, and being the first time the case was covered in court TV, they were able to see the judicial system every day at work in that case, for the first time in the history of Detroit. And I think that in part is why people accepted the verdict, even though it was very favorable, in my opinion, the right thing to do, the jury did. So I think in terms of significance, that is the most significant thing that I've done, because it gave people, people of color especially, hope in the justice system that it really can work if you have people within that system willing to make it work. And that's what I meant when I said that today too. So in terms of significance, that's why I think that case is more important. Time will tell. Maybe this case will be more significant, I don't know. But I think in terms of significant, I really can't see a case being more significant than that, at least in my tenure.